5 of the GPU F3 European Championship from Zandvoort. Here, I'm Ewan Gale. I am back in the commentary box. Unfortunately, no David Carter tonight, but the weather is much better in virtual Holland than it is in real life at the moment. So, hoping that everyone is safe in the Netherlands. And yeah, we're just waiting for qualifying to get underway here. So round 5 of 6, we've got the Norris Ring still to come, but we could have a champion crown tonight in Tom Stevens. Now Tom Stevens is ahead in the driver's standings of Chris Butcher, who's in second place. He's on 121 points, Tom Stevens. Chris Butcher on 96, and it means that Tom Stevens only has to outscore his rival by 15 points to clinch the championship. So let's see how that pans out when we get into the racing later on. We're without a few people due to illness and other things. We've got Kenneth Singleton missing, also Peter Vagapov, who won at Imola in round 1 in the second race. And there's a few other people missing from the server as well at the moment, I noticed. We're expecting 27. So there's an extra 2 missing that we will try and figure out who should be there as the cars queue at the end of the pit lane, ready for qualifying around this tight and technical circuit. And as you can see there, the cars are queuing. And away we go. So, qualifying as per usual, 15 minutes long. Fastest lap, of course, will be on pole position. We'll bring you all of the penalties ahead of the formation of the grid, of course. Not too many to talk about. There's Jan Branton, winner in Barcelona already this season, but struggled elsewhere in the mode auto concepts, as we've already got a spinner out of turn 3. So yeah, very narrow, very technical circuit here in Zandvoort. There's the new banking at turn 3 that we saw someone already have trouble with. And yeah, we're just waiting for the drivers to wind up, ready for their first attempt at a flying lap. Should see about 4 or 5 flying laps, all being good for each driver. It's a nice short circuit and should lend to plenty of flying laps for each driver to really find the maximum that they can out of their car. So here's Chris Butcher then, has to have a good round to stay in the championship fight. The THR driver nocturne for Tom Stevens, of course. And it was actually this man on screen here, Luke Maguire, in the second THR, who was fastest in practice just a short while ago, and he is preparing to go around the final 2 corners. Round Ari Lyondike corner through the banking to set up his first flying lap. So let's stay on board with Luke Maguire then, fastest in practice, as we charge over the line to start the first flying lap of qualifying for him. So down into Tarzan, newly banked as well in the last few years. Plenty of apex speed there from Luke Maguire. Now wind up, who take the small sweep to the left before flicking right and then finding the braking zone for the bank. Up high on the banking, carrying the minimum apex speed before the long drag up the hill, right then left, right again over the crest. Pick your point for turning, for turn 7, all the way around. Plenty of speed needs to be carried because it's all about momentum around here. Then braking, pick your braking point, pick your turning point, and yeah, he's done beautifully there again. A really nice lap from Luke Maguire so far. Although Casper Nizio is the fastest through sector 1 at the moment on his first outing, as Luke Maguire gets a bit of a swap on down into the hairpin. So DRS will be open here then, usually, of course none in this series. And then you're braking for the chicane. A flick right again, Luke Maguire a bit too aggressive on the turning, maybe did well to keep it all together. Usually you'd want to be a lot neater than that, clipping the curb on the inside exit. And then into the right-hander, plenty of curb on the outside, carry the speed through the banking. This will be one of the best places to overtake out of the banking down the straight into turn 1 in the races. And Maguire, not his best lap, and he will still go plenty fast enough to go ahead of Nizio, but 1/10 down on Tom Stevens. So Stevens second though, because Branson has found speed. So Guillaume Branson goes top at 126.6. That is 0.019 faster than Tom Stevens. But then Stefan Rault comes over in the Mazunda to go even faster. Terence Grech now going through the final corner, seeing what time the VMS Synedit Racing can put in a new team for the last 2 rounds, of course. And Terence Grech comes over and goes P11. So strong opening for Stefan Rault and Guillaume Branson, P1 and 2. Only 0.087 seconds separate the top 3. Then it's Alex Leo in the Team Iris car, P4, Luke Maguire P5, but we saw that he had a few issues on his lap. Luke Munier, both Team Iris is looking fast in P6, Casper Nizio in the VMS, P7, Frank Hammond on his return to the series, P8, for Stacks in for Lewis Bickers, Menaclomp P9 so far, and Massimiliano Raboli P10. That's top 10 after the first run, still plenty of time left though, 10 minutes and 30 seconds, so not even a third of the way through. Here's Alexandre Peroche in the Butler Pal, a flick right, a flick left. That's more like what you need to see as Nizio to P3, so he's got plenty of time. And then Stevens blows it out of the water, 2.5 tenths faster than Stefan Rault so far. Tom Stevens flying. Let's see how everyone else improves. Chris Butcher on his second attempt, only 3.5 tenths off his championship rival. That's not going to cut it for Chris Butcher at the moment. As Sonneval goes P10, Peroche P16, Branton pits after his first outing, and Maguire pitted as well, so Maguire will try again. Lejo into P2 though as well, so the track definitely getting better as these drivers start lapping. Here's Dan Brew on his first flying lap, P25 at the moment in the pink and white Stacks. We know we expect him to be up at the top, and he's on a very nice lap so far. Dan Brewer goes across the line and will go P1, fantastic lap. Oh, what's that? 1/10 faster than Tom Stevens. So, and that's on his first lap. We've seen people improving. Let's see what he can do as Kamaligos has a spin, unfortunately, in the same apex. Just going to try and keep out of the way of everyone else as the other folks are going. So Stefan Ruot there. So he had a good first lap, but that's been blown out of the water by Brewer and Stevens, and Lejo pretty much matching the route, just getting slightly faster. So top 10 then after the first few runs: Brewer, Stevens, Lejo, the route, Branton, Nizio, Butcher, Moynier, Maguire and Frank Hammond. Just looking down the order, Sven Heilhoed, who was so impressive at the start of the season, he's only P17 at the moment, 2 seconds down, so potential issues for him. Langerak as well down there. Anastasopoulos still in the pits, but I do believe he has got a qualifying ban from the last round, as Peroche jumps up into P16 on his latest lap. We will see plenty of people now coming into the pit, everyone off strategy a little bit, some people into the pit, some people still lapping. Vele into P15 ahead of Luca Tizano. But I think we've just seen Stevens come out of the pit, so this is not a flying lap at the moment. So potentially the champion tonight, as we said, just got to be 15 points ahead of Chris Butcher, and at the moment he's 5 places ahead on the timing screens. Does ever get involved in the YouTube chat if you want to ask a question, or if you've got anything to say about the racing tonight, then feel free to get involved and get involved in the GPU Discord community. So Luke Maguire then is back on the lap, and this time much neater through the chicane and plenty of speed through the apex as well. Bit of a squirt of oversteer out of it though into the final 2 corners, bit of traffic ahead. Again really aggressive on turning, so aggressive on the turning in nice and early. Luke Maguire trying to improve his position after his first run, 6 tenths down at the moment. I've got a feeling that will get a lot better this time as Luke Maguire comes across the line, goes P1. Yeah, much better for Luke Maguire, just 0.02 of a second though faster than the Staxer Dan Brewer, who's back in the pits. So Maguire to the top of the timesheet as he was in practice, just over halfway through qualifying then, and Stevens is full attack through turn 2 and then turn 3 high up the banking, carry the momentum down the hill as it effectively is off the banking. A little bit of traffic in front of him, hopefully that won't get in the way too much, and as it does pull nicely to the left, I think it was one of the THRs, now flick right into T7 and carry the momentum. Watch the curb, don't take too much because it'll unset the car. Lovely again from Tom Stevens. Pick your braking point, turn in, and he looks a lot calmer behind the steering wheel than Luke Maguire's lap did, but you know, calmer doesn't always necessarily mean faster either. Luke Maguire right on the limit, you feel. Heigo does go up into P3 now, so that's much better from the Mazunda Motorsport driver. Up into P3 ahead of Stevens, so Stevens down to 4th, although he is on a personal best so far, and he's around the same time as Heigo actually around this lap so far, so this is going to be really close. It's going to come down to the final sector and the final corner, maybe a little bit lower off the corner than you would have liked, really hugging the short way around. And Tom Stevens across the line, let's see where he goes with that, just P3, and yeah, as we predicted, very close to Heigo's time, only about 400s faster. Moynier ahead of teammate Leho into P7 as we watch Frank Hammond, the second stacks, replacing Lewis Bickers for tonight. And he's done a pretty good first sector, but he can't improve in the seconds in the final sector. Sorry, really fast though. Through sector 1 was Heigo, but he's lost a bit of time through the middle sector as we watch Jürgen Langerak in the Epic coming through the final corner to set his latest lap time. 5 minutes to go in qualifying. Luke Maguire still top, only Gesto ahead of Dan Brewer, who's on a slightly different run plan to him as Langerak goes P17 with a 127.5. Here is Dan Brewer then on his latest lap. It's a personal best through sector 1. He's 3,000th slower at the moment over than Luke Maguire, and a little bit shaky as well on the exit of turn 9 through turn 10 then, and then down the hill towards the chicane. This is where we saw Maguire struggle on the first run. He tidied it up and really attacked the apex. Two very different driving styles there, because Brewer goes slightly wide, hitting the curb. Don't know if that will affect him. He's slower than his own personal best through sector 2. This isn't going to be good enough for Stevens, who's top. Tom Stevens to the top by 400ths of a second on his latest lap, a 126.119. Fantastic lap from the Nocturne driver, as Brewer, I think, knew that that wasn't a good lap, comes into the pits ready for his final run. So Stevens back to the top of the pile. Chris Butcher only P11, half a second down. Chris Butcher, that could be the championship right there, you know, already in qualifying. Perosh coming across, trying to improve his position, goes from 21st to 18th in the Butler Powell Motorsport car. So P18th only for probably not what he was hoping for. So just a quick rundown of the top 10 as we enter the final stages. Stevens getting back to the top of the pile. Maguire P2 stalking as ever. Dan Brewer P3. Sven Heigo P4. Guillaume Branton is stuck around in P5 ahead of Stefan Raut. Luke Mounier P7, Alex Leho P8, Massimiliano Rapoli up into P9, and Nitio in P10. Heigo just started his latest lap in the black and red Mazunda. Let's see what he can do. Much higher actually on entry point into turn 3 around the banking. Let's see what sort of first sector time he can do. He was fastest with first sector on his previous lap, who went slower in the middle sector. Let's see what he can do through sector 1 this time. Nicely hugging the inside line through turn 7 there. And yeah, he's purple. He's purple Heigo, so faster than anyone in front of him at the moment. Can he carry that through the middle sector? Nice and neat, you have to say. A little bit slowly then, as I say that, into turn 10. Now the power goes down, trying to get as much traction as he can for the run down into the chicane. Can he keep the speed through the middle sector? He can. Purple again, 21.989 middle sector. He's got a chance, a bit slidey through a chicane, but he's carried the speed. Can Sven Heigo cause some trouble for Stevens and Maguire up at the front row? Heigo then for a bit of an upset, it must be said, with the THR and Nocturne guys usually at the top. The Mazunda comes out the final corner, down the start-finish straight, and will go. No, he couldn't improve in the final sector. And in the end stays fourth. That is how close it is up the top, though. Look at that top four, 0.076 separates them, and Maguire's gone slower in the first sector. This won't do it for him unless he can find time in the final two sectors. I think he has just aborted this lap, yeah, so Luke Maguire aborted this lap. He'll have another go, though. Meunier, though, fast in sector 1, 37.3. That is faster than anybody else on the circuit. And he's got a little bit of traffic in front of him, it has to be said, going into the chicane. Can Meunier attack it properly with the traffic ahead? I think he should be fine. The number 7 in 7th at the moment, but he's got traffic in front of him. That's a real shame. Will that affect him? I think it's Perseus Miram in the Team Year 1 car, the number 27. There we go, so he will have a slipstream down the front straight to make up for it potentially. And he does go top. Look, Meunier by 0.03 of a second. Loic Meunier for Team Iris. That's a great lap to go P1. Stevens now P2, then Maguire P3, Brewer P4, and Gale P5. Stevens on his latest lap, can he take that pole position back? Can Maguire do anything about it? Can anyone else cause a bit of a surprise? Round the long right-hander, Tom Stevens goes at turn 7, picking a spot for T8. Bit of a slide on entry, picking a spot for T9. Much calmer this time on entry, but he's down on his best time, he's down on Meunier's time as well, and a bit more of a slide into the left-hand hairpin. So Stevens doesn't look like he's going to get it done, and indeed he does bail, I think. So now it's going to be Luke Maguire. Can he get anything done? He's down as well. So that looks like it's going to be the end of qualifying, although Chris Butcher's just put his personal best in, so maybe he can at least get into the top 5 or the top 10. No, he's slower than most of the guys in the top 10 through sector 1, despite it being a personal best, and he's got traffic and he's got a spinner in front of him. That's not going to help him. He's done a decent middle sector though, maybe a bit of slipstream through the straight would have helped him. Brewer with a personal best in sector 1 as well. Chris Butcher, this is crucial, this lap is absolutely crucial for the THR driver. Can Chris Butcher, second in the championship, needs to keep on pace with Tom Stevens, and he goes P8. It's better. It's not great, but it's better for Chris Butcher. He's in with a chance. Brewer's gone slower in the middle sector. Moritz Kropp only P16 at the moment. That's a surprise. P15 for the second nocturne as Klont comes around the final corner. Can Klont improve from P13? He cannot. So that then looks like it's qualifying all over, I believe. Yes, it is. Most are back in the pits, and the guys that are on track have just finished the lap. So that is Dan Brewer. Dan Brewer managed to get pole at the end, and Dan Brewer will be on pole for Stacks with a 1:26.018. With Loic Meunier with a fantastic lap, a bit of slipstream resistance, it has to be said. Goes P2 for Team Iris. Tom Stevens, championship leader, P3 alongside Luke Maguire, who might need to do a job for his teammates. Van Gale P5 looked very quick as well, with Guillaume Brenton P6 in the first that are really struggling to keep up. Stefan Rau P7 in the second Mazunda, Frank Hammond in the second Stacks P8, and then Chris Butcher, not the qualifying he wanted, down in P9, and Casper Nizio for VMS. Great debut outing for him and that team. Alex Lejo, Team Iris, P11 alongside Massimiliano Riboli, P12. They're only about half a second off the lead, and then it's a massive gap to Menno Klont, P13, a second down off the top of the timesheets. Terence Grech, P14 alongside Maurice Kropp, not the qualifying he was after. Guy Sonnevel, P16 for Gallery 82 Motorsport alongside Maurice Kropp there, and then Jürgen Langerak, P17 for Epic, with Alexander Perosh. We've seen him further up, so we'll look for more in the race. So Tizano does have a grid penalty, as does Sheldon Muscat, but they qualified 19th and 20th. Then Alex Hallows in the second Epic, alongside Dean Feller for GT Omega RPM. Perseus Miram, who we got glimpses of there, P23. alongside Renk Hoekstra for Scuderia Freccianera. And then Antonis Kamaligos, we saw having a few troubles on track there. He's P25 with Nikos Anastasopoulos, who will take the grid in race 1. So that was qualifying at Zandvoort, a fantastic qualifying session. Eagerly anticipating the race now with perhaps a different front row to what we would have expected, especially having seen the practice time. So we're going to go for a break now, get the kettle on, and we'll see you in around 5 to 10 minutes for race 1. Hello, welcome back to the fifth round of the GPU Grand Prix United F3 European Championship at Zandvoort in the Netherlands. So we just had a fantastic qualifying session with Dan Brewer going fastest to stick it on pole for stacks. Yeah, we just thought we'd go through the championship standings before we get to race one. So in the drivers, we've already talked about this. Tom Stevens, 121 points in the first 4 rounds, 15 more than Chris Butcher tonight will do it. That's because Chris Butcher is on 96 points and being 25 points behind, and 40 available per round. It means that Stevens, by outscoring Butcher by 15 points, will be 40 points ahead going into the final round in the Norris Ring in 2 weeks' time. That'll mean that Butcher would not be able to overtake Stevens because of countback of race wins. So that's how it works. See, Stevens needs to outscore Butcher by 15 points. Dan Brewer on pole is in P3 in the championship, 65 points. Now Brewer can stay in the championship fight if he outscores Tom Stevens by 17 points tonight. So he's done the hard bit already. He's got pole now. Can he stay there and make a fair fist of it in the race? His usual teammate Lewis Bicker's not here tonight, but he's in fourth in the standings with 55 points. Moritz Kropp, who qualified all the way down in P15, is on 54 points, tied with Sven Gale, who was fantastic in qualifying there in the top 5. Luke Maguire, P7, 45 points, but has missed rounds. One of his replacements, actually, last time out, Andrew Waring, won a race. He's 8th in the standings, P25. Peter Vagapov missing tonight. He's in P9, 25 points as well, having won race 2 in Imola in round 1. And Loic Meunier, who's just done a beautiful job in qualifying. Yeah, for Team Irish, P10 with 22 points. So that's the driver standings, and then in the team standings, a lot closer. Nocturne, 175 points. At the THR, 167 points. So only 8 points between them as well. P3, 120 points. Then a bit of a gap down to Mazumda, 67 points. P4, Valle down in P5, 38 points. Team Irish only 26 points. Despite some good pace throughout the year. Mode, P7 with 20 points, but the PAL, P8 with 20 points, but not a great qualifying for them here. Gallery 82, 15 points, and Sim Apex, 13 points. That's the top 10 in the Teams Championship. So all still to play for in the Teams Championship, and if Chris Butcher can get off to a good start, yeah, and if Daniel Brewer can peg Tom Stevens back, then the Drivers' Championship may continue as well. So we are just waiting to go into the race, but it looks as if we may have had a restart of warm-up. I don't know whether we've had some technical issues for maybe one or two of the guys there. So we will do our best to. There we go. Yes, it's a problem behind the scenes. So we'll get to a race start in around 5 minutes' time. So yeah, I think what we'll do then is we'll very quickly jump to a break just while the guys get themselves ready, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes' time just to catch the start of the race. Welcome back again to Zandvoort and round 5 of the GPU F3 European Championship. And yeah, finally, then, few of the issues sorted out, and we can get ready for the first race of the evening. So, Daniel Brewer with a fine lap at the end of qualifying to go pole position ahead of Loic Meunier, who found some pace for Team Iris to go P2 ahead of Tom Stevens, championship leader, looking to become champion. Well, he's going to get ahead of Dan Brewer to do that tonight. And Sven Gehoyd P4 there for Mazunda. So, really interesting race in store as the cars line themselves up on the grids, and we will get underway with the formation lap anytime soon. There we go. So Dan Brewer pulls away, and he will start on pole position, as we said. Fantastic lap in qualifying ahead of Loic Meunier. Team Iris, fantastic for P2. Tom Stevens P3 and Heigo P4. Then Guillaume Branson P5 for Mode. P6 for Stefan Ruwal. In the second Mazunda, Frank Hamming on his return for Stax P7. And Chris Butcher in desperate need of a good race P8. Casper Nizio on debut, fantastic in the 96 VMS. P9, Alex Leho P10. Riboli P11 for Valle and Menocon, P12 for Butler Powell. Terence Grech in the second VMS, P13 ahead of Luke Maguire, P14, who had a grid penalty. Maurice Croponi P15 for Nocturne, and Jürgen Langerak P16. Alexander Perosh P17 in the second Butler Powell alongside Alex Hallows, who is the beneficiary of grid penalties. Perseus Miram P19 and Renk Hoekstra for Scuderia Freccianera P20. Tizzano, his teammate, P21, Camaligos, P22, Sonneveld, P23, Dean Vella, P24, and Sheldon Muscat will start from the pit lane after some strife last time out in the GT Omega RPM esports car number 26. So, yeah, plenty of penalties, and yeah, Luke Maguire, a decent qualifying, but drops down because of that. It does allow Chris Butcher up from 9th into 8th though, and perhaps a chance of stalking Tom Stevens down. Remember, there's 2 races throughout the night, and the first race to take the points tally of F1, if you like. So 25 for a win, 18 for second, 15 for third, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1, down to 10th. And then race 2 that we come to later will have reduced points because of the reverse grid. Top 12 reversed, of course. So, drivers coming back to the start line now. Daniel Brewer finding his mark and angled slightly to the right, so he's already thinking of defending from Loic Meunier, who's starting P2, of course. 16 laps of Zandvoort incoming as Sonneveld and Dean Vella line up at the back. The front 2 angle towards each other. I think we've got someone just trying to get into position in the mid-pack there. I think it might have been Casper Nizio. Lights are on now though. It's fine. 3, 4, 5 lights are on. They'll go out now, and away we go. And it's a fine start from Stevens in P3. He's already alongside Loic Meunier, who will keep the inside line and try and keep that position. Oh, a bit of contact, and Stevens. Oh, there's chaos in the back. I think that started with Stevens and Meunier, and now we've got people half spinning around. We'll try and catch who was involved in that. So it's Brewer at the moment, who got away nicely, then Meunier P2, Sven Gehoyd P3, Stevens got away with it, P4, Rout P5, Branson 6, Nizio up to P7, good start for him from P9. And just trying to see who fell down the order. It looks like Leho was got up P14. Yeah, a few people struggling there with that one. Maguire up to P13. So actually, it looks like it mostly sorted itself out. No major problems there. Daniel Brewer though, P1, and actually Monier's found a bit of time in the middle sector to close back in after his hairy first corner. Heigo following, as well as Meunier sideways into the chicane for the first time. They don't want to do too much of that. Gives Heigo a nice run into the final two corners, but nothing will come of it. Brewer getting away with it slightly. Look at the midfield, look how tight it is. Hardly any gap between the cars at all. We're on looking at Menno Klont at the moment, P13 for Butler Powell, pretty much where he started, one position down, because Grech and Maguire have got a front. Heigo was the one most hampered, down 4 from 10th, caught up in that melee at turn 1. So Klont, though, is stalking Maguire, who's stuck behind Grech, and there comes, look, there comes Alex Leo, and the Irish couldn't make a move stick into turn 2. The frantic opening exchanges then here at Zandvoort as Brewer just tries to consolidate his first position. And look at this, racing all the way down the order. Alex Hallows, P17 for Epic. It's got Keith Sonneveld all over the back of him, down into T7, but yeah, that's not going to come off. That's not going to come off at all. So Hallows keeps his position. Meunier managing to settle down a little bit, about a half second off the front there with Brewer ahead, but you know it's looked dangerous for him, and yet he's managed to keep in the race so far despite a few slides. John Brenton P6 all over the back of Stefan Raut, podium last time on his return to the series. Stefan Raut, fine year in sim racing last year for Raut, but he's under attack here as Brenton is in the slipstream, and Raut knows that. He's gone defensive to the inside, to the outside, back to the inside. Can Brenton break late around the outside into the bank? So, oh, they collided. The two of them collided. Raut into the wall, loses front wing. And Brenton there managing to somehow carry on. Nizio up into P5 though. Fine debut for him so far. Raut down to P19 and probably out of the race with that one. Yeah, he is. That's such a shame for Stefan Raut. Such a shame. Unfortunate collision. They locked wheels as they both battled for position into T1. And yeah, Branson got away with that quite lightly, you have to say, in comparison to his rival there on track. So Branson now has got to try and chase down Casper Nizio in the VMS Sonetics machine. The number 96 doing a fine job. But here back in the mid-pack then is Alex Leo, his teammate, up in P2 and doing a fine job. Alex Leo, not quite the same qualifying performance for him, and then getting caught up in that mess at turn 1 has not done him any good. So Leo trying to get past Klont, but the problem is they are all in a big trainers. I think Parosh has lost a bit of time here, so Parosh back behind the likes of Muscat and Kamaligos. Kamaligos and Muscat collide, and it was a bit of a sandwich. I think Muscat's gone round there in the GT Omega in the sandwich that was Parosh and Kamaligos. So that's unfortunate as well. As, oh, up ahead, look at this. Up the inside, I think it was Branson on the inside of Butcher. Or maybe Butcher trying to go around the outside of Branson, and that's allowed Riboli in between the two of them. So not what Chris Butcher needs at all. As Branson slides into the banking. Branson really under the cosh here, you have to say. Since that that move, or attempted move, with Raut that left Raut in the pit and out of the race. Now Chris Butcher has probably got the faster package here than the two guys ahead, but the problem is that Riboli's got his way through, so now it's an extra car that Butcher needs to pass. All the while Tom Stevens is up the road doing exactly what he needs to do. Gap at the front, 7/10 between Brewer and Meunier. That is the lead in battle. Then Heigo about a second off the Team Iris car, so Heigo not able to follow the front two in P3. Tom Stevens. Oh, and that's someone off in front of, who was that? I think it was Brenton. I think Brenton lost it in the straight line. A peculiar incident there for Guillaume Brenton. It doesn't look like his car's damaged too badly, but down to P11. Wow, that was very curious. Guillaume Brenton perhaps maybe contacting a straight line to make it do that. Maybe too much juice out of the corner. He fell a long way down straight. to be where he was. That's allowed though Riboli into P6, up 5 places from his starting position. So Riboli P6, Butcher 7th now, as Parosh still trying to get his way past Kamaligos. He'll be to the outside of turn 1, Tarzan for sure. And can he get the cut back? Probably not. No, Kamaligos actually defended really nicely there on the inside of Tarzan. Now into turn 2, sweeps back across the front of the Butler Powell Motorsport, keeps P21. And it's great to see the racing all the way through the field, as actually Kamaligos goes slightly wide there at the bank, and that'll give Parosh all the motivation he needs to make his way through and up into P21. So a bit of retribution there for Alexander Parosh, as Hammond now P8. Absolutely looking at the back of Chris Butcher, who in turn is behind Riboli, 3 seconds ahead of them. Caspanizio in a world of his own at the moment in P5. He will be absolutely thrilled, no doubt, with his first experience. Parosh up into P20, so let's see if someone else has maybe had a problem. Tizano, he's already got through one. I think Tizano may have had a spin. He was about 3 seconds to the good, and ahead of Frank Hoekstra as well, so Tizano with a bit of a problem. They're dropping down the order. Already on to lap 6 of this race. Fast and frenetic. With Dan Brewer with a comfortable lead at the moment, 1.053 seconds over Loic Mounier, and in complete control. Gale a further second down in P3, and Tom Stevens is around half a second off the back of Gale there. So Stevens still in the fight for a podium. Nizio in a bit of a world of his own, P5, doing a fine job. Massimiliano Riboli then, the start really of this midfield cluster. He's got Chris Butcher absolutely hunting all over the back of his Valet Esports car. And Frank Hammond P8 with Terence Grech P9, and this is a fight we're on board with. Luke Maguire, well, we were on board with, and now we've gone to his teammate Chris Butcher P7 behind Massimiliano Riboli. I think we just saw some change. I think Hammond might have, yeah, Hammond lost a bit of time there. He lost out. He was behind Butcher, wasn't he? But Hammond now dropped down to P12, so that's allowed Grech, Maguire, Branson and Moritz Kropp through as well. So Kropp quietly going about his business to get into the top 11, one place away from the points. 10 laps to go as Brewer crosses the line. 2 seconds now over Mounier. But Butcher still cannot get past Massimiliano Riboli, so Riboli doing a nice job. A bit of a lock up into Tarzan. That'll allow Butcher everything he needs to get through. In the background as well, the other THR was side by side. I think Maguire did get through around the outside of Terence Grech. Yeah, fantastic move from both the THRs then. P6 and P8 on the road and making moves. So Butcher now has free air. Can he catch Caspanizio? 2 seconds down the road, 2.5 seconds down the road even. Needs all the points he can get to ensure the championship fight goes down to the final round in the Norris Ring in 2 weeks' time. Plenty of racing to do, yeah. 10 laps to go, or 9.5 laps to go, and another race, of course, coming up after this. There's Terence Grech, the VMS Soniditz car E9, and then Hammond side by side with Kropp, trying to make up for whatever happened around a lap ago. So Hammond trying to get back into the top 10 for points for Stax, and because Stax third in the team championship, they want all the points they can get just in case something happens up front. Hammond gets pushed wide slightly, maybe, I'm not sure. It's very close, almost contact, almost interlocking wheels as he went round the outside of Maurice Kropp's Nocturne. In the end, it was Hammond in the gravel, and he loses even more time, and now he's got Renault Clont all over his gearbox, looking for a way up into the reverse grid pole, of course, in P12. So a lot to play for, even if you don't get points there. If you are Renault Clont, if you are Alex Leho, if you are Jürgen Langerak, even down in P15. So P12 is that magic number for pole in the reverse grid race. Tom Stevens, though, has managed to catch up with Sven Geelhoy, who's also managed to catch up with Loic Mounier. So maybe Mounier's race pace starting to drop now that we've got through that honeymoon period. Now we'll start to get the understeers and the oversteers as the tyres burn through. So Meunier is starting to struggle. 2.2 down off Brewer. Gale following in P3, and Tom Stevens is in P4, but honestly not really close enough to make a move anywhere at the moment. All equidistant away from each other. Nitio still only about 2 seconds down off these guys actually in P5, and Butcher's actually lost time to Nitio. So Nitio looks in control at the moment in P5, Butcher P6, Rebelli 7, Maguire 8, Greg P9. Branson runs out the points at the moment in P10 despite his trials and tribulations. And then it's Moritz Kropp P11 at the moment on the front row for race 2, Hammond P12, Klontz in the chase, Leho's in the chase, Stevens closing in the slipstream but not close enough to make a move into Tarzan. What pressure can he apply to Heigo to get that podium position? As it stands then, the gap between Stevens and Butcher is only 4 points. That will keep Butcher within the hunt. And crucially, it'll be 13 points between Brewer and Stevens, which would put Brewer back in the hunt as well. Brewer, of course, only needs to outscore Stevens by 17 points to ensure he's got an admittedly outside chance of the championship in the Norris ring. But that's how it stands at the moment. So Stevens still trying to chase into P3, make his own life easier, but he can't get close enough at the moment. So Meunier still doing a nice job just controlling where he is. He's slowed down the pace. They're all lapping in around the same speed now, although Butcher did find some speed on the last lap. Butcher did find some speed. Oh, and look at that, Meunier sideways again out the chicane. And I think Alex Hallows is out. I think Alex Hallows has had an issue. Yeah, Alex Hallows in the pit lane. And a potential incident, I think, as Stevens is much closer this time. This is the chance that Tom Stevens wants, and Heigo knows it. He goes defensive straight away. Can Tom Stevens go around the outside into Tarzan for P3? Heigo, how hard will he push him as Meunier gets sideways out in front again? And look at this on the switchback. Stevens down in the inside into P3. Classic move there on the banking. And Heigo has to settle for P4 at the moment. Now he'll use the high line out the banking to try and come back at Tom Stevens and use the momentum from the higher line. Fantastic racing from both of these drivers. Look how close they are up the hill. But Heigo has to yield. Fantastic racing from the two of them. Fantastic racing from both drivers. That's exactly what you want to see. Hard but fair. And now Meunier's got the championship leader lurking on the back of his gearbox around a second down, but you'd expect Stevens to eat that up instantly. Man, Klontz all over the back of Moritz Kropp. So Hammond's got back into P10 somewhere. Branson down into P11 and Kropp down to P12. So a lot of change there around the fringes of the points. And then behind Klontz there, look as well, Langerak under immense pressure from Guy Sonneveld down the hill into the chicane. I think Sonneveld's tried to dummy it there and couldn't get through. So yeah, plenty of fights throughout the field. Still 11 laps gone. About to enter lap 12. Sorry, we've entered lap 11, my bad. So yeah, still plenty of time left in this race for change to happen, and Stevens and Heigo will go back towards Meunier, and this is where now Meunier's got to be careful, because Stevens will more than likely make a move. Can he make sure that he stays in the podium position? As Klontz gets very close to Moritz Kropp through Tarzan. So Kropp looks slower through Tarzan than the people around him, and that's why Klontz there got all out of shape trying to avoid the nocturne in front of him. So not the race that Kropp would have wanted at all. Look at the bigger movers. 8 places up for Sonneveld, 8 places up for Vella. They're 15th and 16th at the moment, and that gives them a chance for points in race 2, of course. So yeah, every position helps. Leiho down to P17. He's had a difficult race from his good position. He qualified outside the top 10 anyway. And then Casper Nitio into P5, started P9, missed the treble at the start, and has been good ever since, but now he's got Chris Butcher less than a second behind him, or sorry, just over a second behind him at the last split. So yeah, this is looking good for at least the top 6. You'd expect. Riboli hasn't followed Butcher. 8/10 between the two and Butcher now. Stevens already though on the back of Meunier, and look how aggressive he was into the braking zone into Tarzan. So P2 well on the horizon for Stevens, and that would change the championship picture again. Stalking, look, the Team Iris car through the banking, following him almost inch by inch around the banking, but still not close enough to make a move down into T7. You've got to be brave anyway. You've got to absolutely be alongside on the inside line to make sure that your opponent yields, and that's not going to happen this time around. So Meunier holds firm in P2, but it's going to be the chicane and the final 2 corners that are the key for the Team Irish driver. Dan Brewer, as it stands, 3.8 seconds over the last lap, 3.6 over the last split ahead of this battle. So Brewer in complete control from pole position. And remember, Meunier and Stevens collided at turn 1 as Stevens tried to go around the outside. So, you know, don't expect this to be easy either for the championship leader. And it looks like the Scuderia Freccianera of the Partizano has retired. Also Dean Vella, both look to be in trouble. And they have indeed DNF'd there, so trouble in the last half there as Stevens continues to hunt down second position. Butcher still not quite able to get past Caspanizio for P5, and you know he'll need it if Stevens gets through on Meunier here. So championship implications with the battles on the circuit. Looking further down and behind Butcher, Riboli still P7, Maguire still P8, and still about 2 seconds between those two guys. It's Grech actually posing the most threat to Maguire in that little cluster of cars, and then it's a big gap then to Hammond, who's been involved in problems. But he's pulled out a gap now over Guillaume Branson. Branson's 11 and Morris Kropp at the moment in the reverse grid pole, but Stevens still pushing, still trying to find a way past Loic Meunier. The thing is you can see Dan Brewer up ahead, and it's enough to dangle a carrot for Tom Stevens, try and get some excitement going. As Meunier, there's the mistake that Stevens was waiting for. That's going to hamper Meunier all the way around the final corner, all the way down the front straight. Stevens in the slipstream. Meunier's got to stay hard and fast to the inside line. Now how aggressive will he be under braking? Stevens, we've seen him already cut back and make that move once today. He's going to try and do it again. Meunier falls for it. Stevens into P2. Textbook from Tom Stevens. Can Meunier stay with him into the banking? Look at this, Butcher all over the back of Casper Nitio as well. But interestingly, Nitio all over the back of Gale, so I don't know whether Gale's made a mistake. Meunier still over the back of Tom Stevens, side by side now up the hill. Fantastic racing from the two of them. Side by side action all the way up the hill. And Meunier still trying to stick there, now into T8. This is incredible stuff from the Team Iris driver. But in the end, he has to give up and let Tom Stevens through with the corner. Wow, that was some racing from Loic Meunier. Incredible stuff. But now he's got to turn his sights to staying ahead of Sven Geelhoyd, who is P4. Casper Nitio, look, is right up with Geelhoyd now. The front 7 are converging, or front 6, sorry. Riboli not quite with Butcher. Still got a nice buffer over Luke Maguire. And Grech is there as well. So Meunier, what can he do then to stay in a podium? He thoroughly deserves it from the defensive driving he has managed to put on. Brewer 5.6 seconds ahead now, thanks to that duel. Stevens and Meunier, Geelhoyd, Nitio, and now Butcher. Look at the top speed of Butcher. He's going to try and do something here. Sell a dummy down the inside. Nitio fell for it a little bit. Now he's going to cut back and try and defend the corner. They're going to be so close to touching maybe a small bit of contact right rear to left front. And Nitio does so well there. It looked like he fell for the dummy. actually got it absolutely sorted, and look at Butcher just trying something different there to restore parity. But yeah, Nitio fine defensive driving, 2 laps left, 1.5 laps left really. Lap 15 of 16 in Zandvoort, race 1 of round 5 of the F3 GPU European Championship. A reminder, a champion could be crowned tonight with a round to spare. It's Tom Stevens in P2. He has to outscore the man that we were on board and drifting with, Chris Butcher, by 15 points tonight. At the moment, that gap stands at 10 points. More than halfway there for Stevens. Butcher, though, will be ahead on the grid if it stays like this for the sprint race. Or the second race. Sprint race, second race. Yes, Nitio still ahead, but look, he is under peril because Chris Butcher is stalking that slipstream again, and this time Nitio might see that dummy coming. He might not fall for it this time. Butcher will pull to the outside, and he will dummy down to the inside. Can he get it done on the brakes? Oh, really robust from Chris Butcher, it has to be said. A bit of wheel banging, and Nitio gets out of the way, but that seemed very on the edge from both drivers, you have to say. A bit of contact. Now Nitio is going to dish it back out, I think. Yeah, but he'll lose all the momentum down the low side of the banking, and Butcher will get away. Ooh. In fairness, having seen what Branson and Rout went through early on in the race, we're lucky really to see both drivers pointing in the right direction, and I don't think Nitio would have deserved to have ended his race facing the wrong way on debut. He's done brilliantly well. Now Clont, this is important for Menno Clont. This could be a reverse grid pole position if he can get through on Moritz Krop, but Moritz Krop has got Guillaume Branson in front of him. Meanwhile, at the front, coming round the final 2 corners imminently, is Dan Brewer, who has been absolutely fantastic. Pole position and absolutely dominated the race. Fastest lap as well. And across the line, Dan Brewer for Stax Racing takes one of the nicest, most comfortable wins you'll ever want to drive in. Fantastic from Daniel Brewer. Looking behind, Tom Stevens does what he needs to do, P2. And Loic Meunier, look how happy he is with P3. Fantastic race from the Irish driver. Heigo P4, Butcher across the line in P5 with Nitio P6. I'm not sure Casper will be too happy about that move. Look at this. Clon is looking for that reverse grid pole. They're going to be side by side for it. Absolutely side by side for it. Krop knows how important it is. I think Clont's got it. And Clont's happy about that. Menno Clont knows how important that final corner was, and Krop will be gutted about that. So Clont came across the line 0.008 seconds ahead as Perroche, and I think that was Herkstra coming across the line almost with a dead heat as well, and that was just about as close. Yeah, exactly the same gap between those two. Camaligos will be the last across the line. Rosem Apex, Antonis Camaligos, the Greek driver, just coming around the final 2 corners. And yeah, lovely and neat. And he'll come around Ari Landijk corner to finish his race. And you know, sometimes just finishing the race can get you a good result. You never know what happens. You know, he starts P21 now for race 2 and can advance from there. So Tom Stevens then, P2, behind Daniel Brewer, absolutely dominant from a Stax Racing driver. Tom Stevens really though does consolidate his championship position. P2, Loic Meunier, you could see how happy he was coming across the line. P3, Sven Heigo P4, pushed all the way. Chris Butcher managed to get past Casper Nitio on the final lap. Great debut though from the VMS driver with Massimiliano Reboli P7. Luke Maguire managed to recover to P8 after a grid penalty. Terence Grech up into P9, and Frank Hammond, despite a few troubles, into the points P10. John Branson had his own troubles but managed to come back P11. That will be front row for race 2, alongside who will be on pole, Menno Clont, after just pipping Moritz Krop at the line. Jürgen Langerak improved to P14 ahead of Alex Leho, who got stuck at turn 1. Guy Sonneveld P16, Reg Hegstra we saw come across the line with Alexander Perroche P17 and 18 showed a Muscat P19 despite an early spin with contact with Pirosh, funnily enough. Perseus Miram P20 for T year 1, and we saw Carmeligos come across the line. DNFs, 4 of them, Luca Tizzano and Dean Vella within the same sort of time frame as each other. Alex Hallows pretty early on, and Stefan Ralt we saw collide with Guillaume Branson. So, an exciting race 1, albeit with a dominant victor. We are going to go and have a quick break before race 2, but don't go anywhere because we've got plenty of exciting racing to come with GPU. welcome back to the GPU F3 European Championship. Zandvoort round 5. We've had an exciting race one. Dan Brewer in full control there with Tom Stevens in P2, but a few issues again getting the grid sorted. So we're back now. Apologies for the delay. Just to give you an idea of where we are with the championship standings, done a little bit of maths in that break there. So Tom Stevens is now on 139 points. Chris Butcher, after finishing 5th, is on 106 points. That's a difference of 33 points. And Stevens needs to be 40 points ahead at the end of today to be champion with a round to spare. So, all he's got to do is finish 7 points ahead of Butcher in this one race alone. As we get off on to the formation lap then, and after a fantastic last lap battle, Menno Klont is on pole for Butler Power alongside Guillaume Branton, who had issues in race 1 but still managed to get to the end. Frank Hammond P3 for Stax and Terence Grech for VMS in P4. Luke Maguire P5 recovered from a grid penalty alongside Massimiliano Riboli for Valley Esports. Casper Nizio, fantastic first race. We'll start P7 alongside Chris Butcher, who got through on the final lap. Heigo P9, Luke Meunier was P10, P3 in race 1 though for the Irish driver, with Stevens and Brewer in 11th and 12th on the grid. Now back to the normal finishing positions: Krop 13, Langerak 14, Alex Leo 15 and Guy Sonneveld P16, Rink Hoekstra P17 alongside Alexander Kirosh. Calvin Muscat had a spin but got back to P19. Perseus Miram P20 for Team Year 1. Sam Apex and Antonis Kamaligos P21 ahead of Luc Tizano, who didn't finish. Alex Hallows didn't finish either, and Stefan Rault didn't finish either. It looks like Dean Vella isn't with us for race 2. So just going back to what needs to happen here, Butcher has to make sure that Stevens doesn't outscore him by 7 points. Conversely, Dan Brewer, after winning race 1, is 49 points behind. If he can outscore Stevens by 10 points, he'll still be in the running going into the Norris Ring in 2 weeks' time. For Tom Stevens, it's a simple task. He starts 11th, but if he can make up 7 places and finish 4th, 8 points will be enough for him. 8 points will do the job. So we are just filing onto the grid. There is Stefan Rault, not used to being at the back of the grid in any form of racing. 4 lights, 5 lights are now on, and we will be go. And it's a good start from Guillaume Branton, but Klont has done a fine job as well to make sure he gets the inside line into turn 1. Branton going to go around the outside, a little bit hairy on the entry, and Klont keeps his position. Branton still P2 ahead of Hammond and Grech, who are close, and then a bit of contact, and wow, big accident there. I think it was Riboli involved. Stevens up into P10 with a bit of contact. Luke Maguire's up into P4. Who was involved? I'm pretty sure it was Riboli. It was Riboli, and it's Casper Nizio as well, so that's rotten luck for Casper Nizio after a fantastic first race. But anyway, back up front is Klont ahead of Branton, Hammond, Maguire, Grech. Butcher P6, Meunier P7 already. Great start for him. Gale P8, Brewer P9, Stevens P10, Krop is up to 11th, Sonneveld 12th, Leho just past Langerak for P13, so the Muscat P15, Tizano 16, Hirosh P17, Miram 18, Hallows P19, Rault P20, Hoekstra P21 and Kamaligos P22. And as we said, with Riboli and Nizio out at turn 2. Butcher all over the back of Terence Grech. He knows he's got to get on with this. And we've got a spinner. We've got a spinner from out front. Who was it? I think it might have been Luke Maguire. It was Luke Maguire. So drama, and now we're 3 wide. Now we're 3 wide. And Butcher gets both of them. Yes, he does. Butcher gets both Hammond and Greg and goes P2. That's superb racing. Just when he needs it as well. That'll keep the championship alive. That will keep the championship alive. Hammond P3 at the moment, and still side by side. There goes Meunier already into P4. Finished third in race 1, already into P4, and now all over the back of Frank Hammond and Maguire P5, Greg P6, Brewer 7, Gale P8, Stevens 9, Crop 10. I think it was Brenton as well who went down, not Maguire. So I think they tripped over each other because Maguire did lose time, but it was Brenton who lost all the time. So another collision for Guillaume Brenton. And look at Maguire around the outside of Meunier. That's pretty special. Into P9. A bit of a slide from Meunier now, trying to fight back. And this is chaotic stuff at the start of the race. Absolutely jam-packed with action. As we see Daniel Brewer trying to make his way around the outside of Terence Grech at the chicane, and now he's got the inside. He'll go back to the outside for the last 2 corners, and he knows to yield, but that means that Hilhoid is going to be all over him. Did well not to make contact. Hilhoid now has Tom Stevens all over the back of him, and then there's Maurice Kropp, and then there's Sonneveld. They are all so close to each other. Stevens with a fantastic run though down the inside, and Hilhoid can do nothing about it. As out in front they're going to go side by side as well, and Kropp's there, and look at that, late on the brakes is Sonneveld, and oh, someone's gone spinning. It looks like Terence Grech. I think Grech was in the wall, and somehow they all managed to avoid him. They allowed Gale to stay ahead of Stevens. That's Branson DNF already. We're expecting Grech probably to be one of those as well, down to P15, down to P16, and with plenty of damage on the car as well. Sonneveld took full advantage up into P9 ahead of Kropp, and now Leho is having a look around the outside. Meanwhile, up in front, Clont has got a 3-second lead over Butcher, then Hammond is right there. And look at this round the outside. Is that Alex Leho trying to do what Luke Maguire did just a lap ago? Couldn't get it done though. Good defence from Maurice Kropp in P10, and that's going to allow Sheldon Muscat from nowhere is up into P12. A little bit wide fighting for P11, but that is a pretty good first 3 laps for Sheldon Muscat. Behind him Langerak, Tizzano, Perosh, Hoekstra, Grech, Ralt, Nurum, Hallows and Camaligos closing the field out. So a little bit of a breather then now that the pack have sorted itself out, and at the moment we're going to take the championship down to a decider in the Norris ring, because Butcher's up in P2, Stevens down in P8 and Brewer in P6, although Stevens has just made a move up past Sven Gale into P7, and Gale's come fighting back. So Stevens can't make that move stick at the moment. Really pushing hard now. Will he send it up inside? The problem with this is you lose the momentum up the hill. That hasn't worked all night, and it's not going to work this time. So maybe Stevens may have been better advised to stick in the slipstream, because now he's lost all his momentum and is allowing Sonneveld to have a run at him. But Sonneveld knows there's no point in trying to make a move around the outside of turn 7, so Stevens safe for now. Grech in the pits, Camaligos in the pits. Grech expected after his damage of course at Tarzan. So points gone for Grech, points gone for VMS Sonedits altogether after such a good race 1. But the race continues. Up front, Stevens still tagging along to the back of Sven Gale. Brewer up ahead is trying to catch Lake Meunier at the moment as Clont has lost some of his gap. That's down about 7/10 on that lap between Clont and Butcher. It's Clont 2.3 ahead of Butcher, then Hammond P3 in the stacks, Maguire P4 in the second THR, Stevens again in the slipstream of Gale. Gale is going to defend to the inside. Stevens ran the outside. We've seen Stevens use a cutback a lot this time. He's going to stick all the way on the outside. This is going to be very close into turn 2 and 3. And can he keep it there? This time he's got a bit more speed. He might be able to squeeze Gale out. Gale's going to use all of the momentum he can. And can he keep that inside line up the hill? This is going to be awfully close. Yeah, look at that, yeah. Stevens just managed to get enough of a run and cut the door closed, and will this time keep P7. Now he can get on to closing the gap up to the guys ahead as Heigo gets very antsy through the exit of T7, manages to keep it just about heading in the right way, and someone is off in front. I think that was Heigo, yeah, Heigo's down in the gravel and down to P13, and Tizano will be all over the back of him as well. So Heigo cracks under the pressure. Out of the points goes the Mazumda, so Mazumda at the moment not scoring any points at all in this second race. That puts Alex Heigo. We saw him having a bit of a moment earlier on this lap, but Heigo is up into P10 now, and Muscat is lurking for points if something happens to someone in the top 10. Moritz Krop, however, at the moment behind Guy Sonneveld. We saw Sonneveld take advantage of the pack racing earlier on. Krop now is going to go to the inside. Can he get on the brakes late enough to make that move stick? Yes, he can. Sonneveld trying to tuck back in to make the cut back work, but it's not going to work for him this time. Moritz Krop keeps P8. Two important moves for Nocturne within the space of 2 laps. Sonneveld fighting back though up the inside. That won't work. We've seen the momentum's not good enough. Carry that speed through. Lap 6 of 16 in the second race of the night. Clont still ahead of Butcher, who's 6 places up from his starting position. A fantastic race for Chris Butcher so far, and that gap still coming down to 0.1 now. Another 3/10 over the last few laps. Frank Hammond is following Butcher for the Stax team, and Maguire about half a second behind as well. On just looking at Renk Hoekstra here at the back for Scuderia Freccianera, and he is right behind Stefan Ralt, so trying to follow Ralt up the order. Now Ralt of course was in the top 10 earlier on, but had unfortunate contact with Gale Branton, and that really put pay to any good result he could have tonight, especially around this circuit. 23 overtaking opportunities we've seen so far tonight. Butcher and Hammond though trying to close into Clont. That gap now under 2 seconds. It's 1.8, 10 laps to go in the second race of the evening. Brewer only half a second behind Meunier. That's looking like a close battle at the moment. Stevens trying to get to grips with those two as well. At the moment, Dan Brewer is going to be eliminated from the championship fight. It's going to be a straight two-way battle between Butcher and Stevens at the Norris ring, but there's still plenty of time for something to happen, especially with Frank Hammond closing in on the THR driver. Nice to see as well that the race has slightly settled down. The gaps are starting to emerge. Still plenty of racing action going on, but no 3 wide actions, no 4 wide actions. I think Krop has just swapped. No, it wasn't. It was Sheldon Muscat into P10 ahead of Alex Heigo. So I don't know if Heigo had a problem, because he had a nice gap to Muscat. It's about 1.5, 2 seconds it was, and now Muscat, incredibly, having started race 1 from the pit lane, is in the points in race 2. So really solid racing from Sheldon Muscat. Let's see if he can hold on to that 10th position. Still on board with Hammond as we switch now to his teammate Daniel Brewer. Look at the different lines through that final corner. Stevens really hugging the inside. Brewer though in the slipstream of Meunier, but can't do anything. We saw how difficult it was to get past Loic Meunier in the first half of the race. In race 1, things started to come to his rivals in the second half of the race as the tyres maybe started to cry enough. But let's see, he's had a good day so far. How much will he get his shoulders out with Daniel Brewer? Stalking him in the stacks. Nothing happening at turn 7 though for Brewer, despite the mammoth speed difference between two cars. Oh, there goes Meunier into the gravel. Too much curb on the entry. He's done well to keep it going. He's done very well to keep it going in a straight line, and in fairness he's only lost time to Stevens. Well, he's lost 2 places with a fairly sizable moment there, so of all of the things that could have happened there, that wasn't too bad for Loic Meunier, and now he's got to switch his head on and not let that affect him. Still plenty of good points on offer. P7 You know, really good day for him after reaching the podium. It looks like Alex Hallows has retired from the race now as well. That leaves 20, of which Camelugos is at the back. Langerak, Ralt having a fight there, I think. As Hammond still trying to follow Butcher towards Clont. That gap now though, less than a second at the front. Stevens is on the back of Dan Brewer almost as well. So this is all going to Constantina up at the exciting part of the race at the end. Look at that, pretty much everyone changed position apart from Clont and Hammond. 7 places for Brewer, 6 for Butcher, 5 for Stevens, 7 for Sonneveld up into P9, Muscat P10. Stefan Ralt has managed to make the most to go 10 positions up as well from his starting position at the back after DNFing in race 1. So just looking at championship leader Tom Stevens, as we must repeat, championship will not go to him tonight. Look at this though, good battle. This is Heigo trying to get back at Sheldon Muscat. And the two are absolutely sideways to the left hand, and now Muscat's going to have to go defensive to the inside, into the chicane, down the hill low plunge, pick your braking point, Heigo around the outside. Muscat does enough, goes wide though, that will give Heigo another chance on the exit. Nice drive, can he stick a wheel up the inside? Don't think he will. He'll settle for the slipstream down the straight surely. Muscat doing a nice job of car positioning there, but he is driving in his mirrors now, and that is dangerous. You know, you can't go forward if you're looking backwards. He'll go defensive down the straight, a weave to the left, a weave to the right, pick your braking point. If Heigo's smart, he'll do the old Stevens switcheroo, and he does. That's a beautiful move from Alex Heigo. If he can keep that there, then he should be in P10, and it was a wonderful move from the Team Irish driver. Really, really solid overtake that. And back into the points, Hoekstra and Perosh swapping positions down the field. Meanwhile, up in front, look at this, I think Cropper's got past Meunier, so Meunier perhaps struggling with tyres after his slide, but Cropper's managed to find his way through to Crop, turning a pretty average day into a point scoring one. P7 at the moment. Loic Meunier falling backwards, but only P8. Sonneveld a further second behind, so points still available for the leading Irish car. Meanwhile, up at the front, look how close this is now. We've got traffic for the leaders. And this is Luke Maguire in behind. Oh, it is the leader. Yeah, I do apologise. Yeah, so Clont has closed back up. That graphic, the time graphic, made it look a lot of bigger gap than it actually was on screen. And yeah, it's Butcher now right up behind Clont, but Hammond's with him, and Maguire's with him, Brewer's with him, and before long Tom Stevens will be with them as well. And this is going to get crazy. You have to feel that Clont will have to drive the widest Butler Power Motorsport in GPU history to keep hold of this lead, because Butcher is closed in at the rate of knots 4/10 between the fastest laps of the race. Pretty even lap on the last lap, it has to be said, although Maguire and Brewer are miles faster in clean air. Now they've caught up to Concertina, it's all going to slow back down. So men o'clock, car number 99 is ahead at the moment. Chris Butcher in the slipstream, down into the chicane. Will he be able to do anything? Oh, Sonneveld's DNF'd. Sonneveld is out of the races. Clont goes deep into the chicane. That's not going to do him any favour. So Sonneveld DNF'd. So that puts Muscat back into P10. Heigo into P9. So unfortunate for the Gallery 82 driver. Meanwhile, back up front, this is the move for the lead coming. You have to think both THRs looking at a move, because Hammond's under attack as well. Can Clont get it slowed down enough to prevent the cutback? He can. Great driving. Oh, and look at that, the stacks are into each other. It's Hammond and Brewer side by side. Brewer into P4 because Maguire got round Hammond. and that compromised him, and Brewer took the opportunity. So Brewer into P4, Hammond down to P5 after a bit of contact. Oh, look at that, Maguire all out of shape on the exit of Gale as well, and that's going to give Brewer the chance. Can Brewer go around the outside at T7? I'd advise not. No, he won't. So that's, well, that was Larry from Luke Maguire after making the move into P3. Brewer managing to somehow get past his teammate with a bit of contact. And all of a sudden, look at that, Tom Stevens is right with them as well. And then amongst all of that, you've got to commend Menno Klont's defence. Lap 12 though, still plenty of time for Butcher. You just think that once the gates are open, they'll all flow through as well. Menno Klont under all sorts of pressure here for the race victory. Reminder of the top 10: Klont, Butcher, Maguire, Brewer, Hammond, Stevens, Krop then 5 seconds off the lead. Meunier, Leho, both Team Irises together, and Sheldon Muscat. Langerak P11 waiting for something to happen, a route from the back of the grid as well, P12. But now again, Butcher will have the slipstream. What can he do? He tried the dummy a few times in race 1. Not going to be able to this time with Klont there. And Klont again, savvy, knows that the switchback's going to come. And Butcher can't do anything about it. Meanwhile, Brewer all over the back of Luke Maguire. Look at this round the outside. Oh no, Klont's gone round, no! Menno Klont round, contact with Chris Butcher. Nothing that Butcher did though, is just 2 into 1 doesn't work. Butcher with the move round the outside takes the lead. Maguire P2, THR 1-2. Stacks 3-4 at the moment. Brewer P3, Hammond P4. Stevens all over the back in P5 as well. What a race we have now to the end of the race with these 5. To pick up Krop in 6, so it's like Noah's Ark at the moment. THR, stacks, Nocturne. Then you've got Menno Klont down in P7, then you've got both Team Irises as well. 2 by 2. But this isn't done yet. Stevens now all over the back of Frank Hammond. Look how close they are through the chicane. It looks like Hurlhoyd's gone through on Rualt, and Rualt's actually dropping down, so I think Rualt might have had another issue. We saw yellow flags pop up briefly, and also Tizano's through is also Rualt back down to P14, but back at the front. Look at this slipstream in action. Pick a lane, any lane, and then pick a braking point if you dare. And Stevens did pick a braking point and got all sorts of sideways. Meanwhile, look at this, Dan Brewer side by side with Luke Maguire. Who's got the inside line? They're going to touch slightly, and Brewer goes through. Fantastic move, and then Maguire tries to get back to the outside and a bit more contact. Now Maguire's going to go all the way around the outside, gets pushed onto the curb. Can't get anything done there. He's right in the slipstream. He's got so much pace at the corner. But Dan Brewer holds on just about. Dan Brewer up 10 positions, race 1 winner. He's absolutely got an affinity with this circuit, and up into P2. 4 stacks. Now Maguire's going to have Hammond all over the back of him. And Stevens, who looked so aggressive into turn 1 as well. Butcher, though, allowed a bit of room there. There goes Stevens up the inside of Frank Hammond. What an opportunist move that is. Now Hammond's going to fight back. Can Stevens stick on the outside into turn 10? No, he can't. And that's allowed the front 3 to just scamper away a little bit. That would have been fantastic if he pulled that off. Will he go for it? No, he won't. Thinks better of it, although Hammond went slightly wide. Hammond went really wide off into the gravel, and that is just an early present there for whenever Tom Stevens' birthday is. It's got a ribbon wrapped on it as well. So Stevens into P4. I don't think that actually does win the championship. Apologies for my maths earlier, because Butcher's still ahead, so he wouldn't get the points he needs. So at the moment we're still going to the final round unless something happens to Butcher. But if something does happen to Chris Butcher in the last few laps, then we will have a champion. Butcher though 1.3 ahead, under no pressure at the moment, because Dan Brewer is not close enough, and that should ensure that we will have a decider. So anyway, back to the racing on track, and Hammond is actually still over the back of Tom Stevens. Stevens hasn't got his way. Who's that off in the front, I think it might have just been I think it might have been Camaligos just getting out of the way, in fairness. Getting out of the way of the leaders. So Camaligos off. He's the last man on track. Rank Hoekstra's in the pits. Ralt has DNF'd as well, so we thought he was in trouble somewhere. But yeah, the front four have sort of strung out with their own battles. Brewer's starting to close back in to Butcher, but Butcher's about to start the final lap. Here we are then for the final point. Langerak ahead of Sven Gelhoed, who's had his own troubles in this race, but he's looking racy. Can Gelhoed do anything about it? He'll try and go down the inside of the Epic Racing. Langerak late on the brakes to defend, round the outside, a bit of contact, and Gelhoed all the way around Tarzan sideways. Can he stick on the inside for turn 2? He tried to, and there's a bit more contact. That puts Langerak sideways, and now they're going to get really close up on the banking. You just know it, and Langerak again out of control, a bit more contact, and Gelhoed does force his way into the top 10 for points. Oh, look at that, that's Hoekstra getting out of the way, I think, as well, after leaving the pit lane. There's Klont, P7 at the moment, trying to fight back on Moritz Krops. Actually, Klont has found a bit more pace after his mistake, but down into the chicane for the final time. Chris Butcher pulling out all of the stops when he needed to extend the championship, to make sure that we enter a final round. And round the final corner goes Chris Butcher for THR. Like I said, when he needed it, makes the most of all the chaos, and some fantastic moves from him. He takes race 2 victory over Dan Brewer. What a fine night he's had. First and second in his 2 races. Luke Maguire P3, THR 1-3, Stevens P4, finding his way up the order as well. Frank Hammond P5, Morris Crop P6, a much better race 2 for him. Mono Klont so close to pulling off the same heroics as he did in race 1 in P7. Lake Meunier in P8, fantastic night for him as well for Team Iris, and his Alex Leho, his teammate, P9, so a good result for Team Iris. And Sven Gelhoed on the final lap getting through on Jurgen Langerak, apologies, for P10. Sheldon Muscat had a good second race, having started from the pit lane, it must be said. He finished P12 in race 2, Tizano P13, Perosh 14, Miram 15. Grech had issues in that race, had contact with the wall, P16, having made a pit stop. Camaligos comes home a lap down, as does Renk Hoekstra, who was also in the pits for damage. Yep, so just confirmation of the standings there, and what a race it was. Chris Butcher coming out on top after an incredible, well, for a lot of it, 6-way battle with Brewer, Luke Maguire, Tom Stevens, Frank Hammond, and Menno Klont, who was in there as well, before running wide. Morris Crop up into 6 for Nocturne. Meunier and Leho, Team Iris, will be happy with their night. Of course, podium for Loic in race 1, and Sven Gelhoed makes it a double points finish for himself, and Mazunda in P10. Langerak, as we saw, unlucky to lose out, but did well not to drop from P11 after contact on the final lap. Sheldon Muscat must be very happy with his night in the end. In P12, Luke Tizano P13 after DNF in race 1. Alexander Perosh P14, Perseus Miram P15, Terence Grech had issues P16, Antonis Camaligos P17, 2 finishes for him, and Sim Apex. Nick Hoekstra was in the pits late on, that's why he was a lap down. And then the DNF Ralt for the second time tonight. Gisonneveld also retired from the top 10. Alex Hallows in the second epic. Guillaume Branson was in the top 10 when he had an issue. Massimiliano Riboli was also in the top 10 when he had an issue. He was fighting with Casper Nizio at the start of the race. So that, by my very quick maths, and correct me if I am wrong, but I believe means that Tom Stevens takes a 26-point advantage over Chris Butcher into the final round of the championship at the Norris Ring. That's in 2 weeks' time. So Stevens couldn't quite get the job done tonight. And yeah, I think that's just about what happened. Stevens made his way up as he needed to in race 2, but Butcher was on fine form, and to go from 8th to 1st in the second race is a mark of a very good racer, and that is why he deserves to keep the championship alive. So we will do an interview with the man who just won race 2, and that would be Chris Butcher. Chris, thanks for joining us. What a win that was in race 2, and what a battle with all of those guys. It was really frantic out there, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, tell me about it. It was absolutely intense. I am dripping with sweat, even though it's about 5 degrees outside. I'm absolutely soaked, but yeah, really good fun. I didn't think that I could get the win from 8th on the grid, to be honest with you, because it's so hard to pass around here. Even though you've got the bank corner and the long straight, the dirty air means it's really hard to sort of stay close enough to the car in front. So yeah, pretty good. Just a shame that race 1 wasn't a bit better. I got stuck in behind some people and having to sort of avoid incidents and whatever, and that set me back a little bit. But yeah, overall pretty fun and happy with the race 2 win.
Yeah, because you're right about race 1 and getting stuck behind the people. And through qualifying, it looked as if it could have been even worse at one point, but you managed to find the lap at the end of qualifying. Then you managed to make sure you kept your nose clean in race 1. So is it a bit confusing almost that the pace suddenly came in race 2?
No, to be honest, we knew the pace was there. I just didn't get qualifying right. In all honesty, when I was on a good lap, I kept messing it up, or I came up against some traffic, and even on my last lap, I had to contend with a car spinning off in front of me, and I wasn't sure if he was going to come back across the track, so I was a bit cautious through that chicane. So yeah, I just didn't do the best that I could have done in qualifying, and that kind of made it more difficult in race 1, because the pace was there. Once I got through into clean air, I was catching the leaders, and if I'd have had a couple more laps, I think I could have been fighting for a podium. So it just shows you in this league, that the tracks have been quite narrow, and everybody's fairly evenly matched. So qualifying's so important, and if you don't maximize it, then you set yourself up for a really difficult race 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at race 2 as well, it's a great example. You've got Menno, who obviously was outside the top 10 in race 1, yet was able to hold so steady throughout the second race up front. And he seemed to be the only person who didn't fall for the old over-under at turn 1. You managed to get that done eventually. So just talk us through that battle you had with Menno, and obviously the move that eventually got you the win.
Do you know what? I love racing with Menno, because he's one of the best defensive drivers out there. So and he always races clean, does Menno. So it's always really satisfying. Even if you don't get the pass done, it's always really satisfying to race with Menno and have a good battle. But yeah, it was just I knew I had the pace. It was just a case of biding my time, and sort of I was working out where I could do it. And obviously I tried it the first time and didn't quite get the overlap, but the second time I had to go, I managed to make him run a bit deep, so that gave me the overlap that I needed. But yeah, it's always a pleasure to race Menno on track. We've raced against each other for a long time, and hope we continue to have races like that.
And very, very quickly to finish as well, using my potentially shoddy, very quick maths, I think there's a 26-point gap now in the championship between you and Tom, which admittedly I think you would admit this as well, being truly honest. After qualifying, it looked as if it would be a lot worse than that. So what confidence does that second race give you to go into Norris Ring? It's a street circuit, it's narrow, plenty can happen, and you've obviously got the pace there to take victories. You've got to feel a bit better about it after that race too.
Yeah, I think so. I've always done quite well at Norris Ring. It's one of my favourite circuits, which is weird because I generally hate street circuits. But I'm not writing anything off. It's obviously going to be really difficult. I'm going to need Tom to run into some trouble, and in reality, I'm going to need to win both races. So that's going to be really difficult. But never say never. It's a street circuit, so incidents are likely to happen. I've just got to keep my nose clean and hope for the best. But you know what? I kind of hope Tom wins the championship because he's driven really well this season, and he fully deserves it. So to be honest, my focus is on getting the team's title for THR. But if we can pick up the drivers, I'll count that as being very lucky. To be honest.
Well, that's really well said of you, and obviously you guys always give us great racing on track as we saw tonight. So, Chris, thank you very much. I think we're going to bring in Luke, your teammate, as well, just to talk about the team's championship. Luke, congratulations on tonight, and Chris just alluded to there the focus on the team's championship now with the gap in the drivers' standings, and a 1-3 for the team there at the end. Has got to be happy with that, right?
Yeah, considering with the penalty in race 1, I think that it would have been a 1-2 there in race 2 if we didn't have the collision there with Guillaume spinning and losing 3 or 4 positions. So kind of had to burn up a bit more rubber than I wanted there in race 2 to get back up into the right position. So, but fair play to Dan. Dan, great pace there at the end to snatch it off us. But I think we worked great as a team there in the race 2 to make sure Chris got the most points as he possibly could, and the team did, I think, a good job this race. So I think we're hopefully in the running for the championship in the next round.
And as you said there, you had the penalty, you had to come back. You did come back, you got points in race 1. Then, as you said, Guillaume spun in front of you, so you were hampered again. You still managed, as you said, with the rubber. We see people time and time again, they have adversity, they lose their minds. How do you focus back into the moment in that situation and collect yourself and get ready to go forward again?
I think it's more to do with the guys I'm racing with, the guys and who are talking to Toby and Chris and Tom and Moritz, and I think it's great to see how good they're doing, and it's you can kind of pull yourself to a new level trying to keep up with those guys, so they don't put their head down when things go bad for them. So why should I do the same? So yeah, it's good to have good guys to race with, and good benchmark. So you're always trying to do the best you can.
Immense battle at the end there in race 2. Chris said how intense it was from his point of view, and with respect, he only had obviously he had the guys behind, but he only had Menno in front of him at that stage, whereas you were right in the heart of that. What was it like for you in that situation?
A little bit frustrating in a way because we were burning tires, knowing that we had more pace, and for me in particular with this car, I burn my tires a bit quicker than Chris and Tom, and and Brewer. So I need to kind of make the progress quick, and then when you get stuck behind Hamming with the really high top speed, it's just really hard to go forward. So yeah, I had to do a few dodgy moves, a few lunges, and some of them worked out. So yeah, not too bad.
And just again using my shoddy quick maths, I think with the results today, THR go top of the standings, so got to be confident going into the Norris ring for the team's championship.
Yeah, I've no penalty, so yeah. Well, it's fun, because I want to fight for something. I know I'm not fighting for the drivers, but I want Chris to win, and I want us to win the team. So we're gonna turn up all the tins and whistles and tricks that we can.
Brilliant. Lovely to talk to you, Chris. You the same. Congratulations on tonight, and good luck for the Norris ring in 2 weeks' time.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that brings to an end then round 5 of the Zandvoort round. Round 5 of the Zandvoort round. Round 5 of the Grand Prix United European F3 Championship. We've got one more round to go, and both championships are still wide open. Tom Stevens 26 points ahead of Chris Butcher, but anything can happen. We've seen already that anything can happen this year and in previous seasons. THR go top of the team's standings, but Nocturne will come fighting back on the streets in Germany. Who will win? Who will come out on top? All we know is it's going to be so exciting as it was tonight. I've been Ewan, Gale. Heigo Poom's been on the cameras for us. Incredible as ever. For now, it's goodbye. We'll see you in 2 weeks.